Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today, the Queen of eBay, Shelley Epperly. This is your Daily Dose of Happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And we are especially happy that you joined us today because we have a special guest joining us today, which is kind of a fitting thing in that our other co-host, Dean McMurray, has decided he's going to move on to other things, and we wish him well, of course, in his future endeavors. But that kind of left a gap for today because, as Shawngela is going to find out in a moment, we usually have 3 people on the show at any one time, just because the energy when you have 3 is so good. So we're really glad that she decided to jump in today. So Shawngela, thank you for joining us on the program from hot Arizona. I mean, you guys defined the word hot, I believe. I mean, I think if you look up the word hot in the dictionary, you find a picture of Arizona. So welcome. Glad you have you on the program today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here and to share my story with your guest.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Shawngela, she's an expert at manifesting health and well-being. She's like an intuitive healer. And she also has her own podcast on the Law of Attraction Radio Network. And so we were hoping she'd kind of share some of her expertise in that area, as well as other areas that she's interested in. So I know that, for instance, my Monday co-hosts, Louis D'Souza and Amy Blackford, were particularly interested. They're probably going to tune in today because Louis in particular is a fan of, I'm going to just forget her name right now, very famous intuitive healer. And yeah, her name's gone right out of my head. What is her name? Well, it'll come to me. But okay. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this. Well, first of all, I imagine it just kind of it emerged sort of as an ability of yours, and you kind of developed it over time. But what's the story? How did it all happen for you?
Well, let's see. Well, I think we're all born intuitive. It's just we kind of get trained out of it as we grow older. Yeah. And some of us learn to come back to it. And although if it's really strong, it's never really gone, right? It's never really gone. You just have to nurture it like anything else. It's almost, I see myself as a spiritual athlete. You just cultivate it every day. You're always working on it. You know, it's not some people just want it to just like happen, especially when it's something like spirituality or intuition or things like that. They're like, oh, I just want it. It's like, well, you have to work towards it just like anything else, right?
So you go to the spiritual gym every day is what you're saying.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And you just cultivate it and you deepen your awareness, and it just becomes really a part of just your daily life, who you are, who you become. Everything that you do just is energized by your spirituality.
All right. And where does the healing part come in? Because that I think is what makes it distinctive to be an intuitive healer.
Well, the heal is really, my mission is really just to awaken people to their innate power to heal. Okay. And that involves reconnecting to your source. Like you can never be disconnected from it, but strengthening that connection, because most people aren't listening to the signs that they're giving. Most people don't understand it. You know, you're taught to use your logical mind, all that. So it's reconnecting to your source so that you can heal innately, right? You can, you know what to do. You know what to do to raise your vibration. You know what to do to change your thoughts. You know all these things just intuitively yourself because you're guided from within you.
Okay. All right. So truly anybody can learn this skill. And like you said, it's more about the reconnecting to what was already there.
Yes.
Which is a recurring theme here on this show about how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the hard part, because you're not really taught this in school, right? You're taught all these mathematics and all these other things. You have to be logical, and being intuitive is not logical, is contrary to that, right? In many respects, you're guided to do things and you don't understand why. You're like, why am I doing that? But after a while, you learn to just trust in it, because you made so many errors by not listening, and you're like, oh, that's why you wanted me to do that. Okay, well, let me just trust in the process and just make it happen. Yeah.
What do you think the trick is for somebody like me who has a long history of not being able to get any significant connection? I mean, I can get little blips of messages every once in a while. I can kind of get intuitive senses at times, but I don't have anywhere near the connection that others have. What's the secret for somebody like me?
Well, the first thing is to change the story.
Well, okay, that's fair. I have heard that one a few times. Just saying.
Well, it's a law of attraction. You manifest. You're just like, oh, I never have a connection. Blah, blah. And so the universe is like, okay, well, yeah, you never have a connection. So, so you have to open the door, right? Just a little bit. You're like, oh wow, every day I become more intuitive. Every day I hear more messages from source. Whatever that story is that resonates with you, you're changing that story slightly. And you're inviting that into your reality. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I had a client today, and she shared a beautiful story about how she's, really starting to connect to source. And to make sure that she understood it, she was very specific. She said, okay, now on this walk, if the answer is, this is my answer, I want to see a red balloon. Like how... Oh, nice. How random is that? I want to see a red balloon on this walk. And so she's walking. At first she sees like a silver balloon. She's like, that's not red, so it's not my my thing. But then towards the end of the wall, here's this big bright red balloon just like right there. Like, how do you find a red balloon? Balloon in a park, right? In Pennsylvania. You're like, what is that? That right there to me is a phenomenal. Then she still continued to see all these red signs, red cars, red like never before. She was surrounded by red cars. She was like, okay, I get the message. This is what I'm supposed to do. But it's developing that kind of communication with your source so that you're guided from within. You're not using your logical mind. You're really getting the answers from within you.
Well, it also reminds me of. Oh, go ahead, Shelley. I tend to dominate. I gotta let.
I was just gonna ask. I have gone to a professional muscle tester before. And then I've also watched videos on how to muscle test for myself, mostly on like nutrition and supplements and that sort of thing, where you just kind of stand there and, if you lean towards it, it's good for you. If you lean away from it, it's bad for you, kind of a thing. Is that anything that you teach, or are you more just about connecting with source?
Well, surprisingly, the muscle testing, that is a way that source uses to communicate with you.
Right.
Okay, that's just one of many ways that they can communicate with you. They do advocate a deeper connection, right, where you're listening more on a moment-to-moment basis. But you've begun the conversation. You've started to at least tap into your inner self, your inner guidance when you do the muscle testing. So personally, do I teach the muscle testing? No. I teach people to go to their source and be guided to whatever they need to do. So if your source says, okay, your first step is do muscle testing, then you go learn how to do muscle testing. Yeah.
So what does that look like when you're guiding somebody for the first time and they're kind of learning it? Does it come through in different ways to different people? Is it always just a feeling? Is it verbal? What is it?
I allow them, my source, to speak through me in order to communicate the message to other people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And then we work on them learning to quiet their mind so that they can receive their messages, and then learn how to feel, because we're always trying to analyze things. And sources, this is the non-physical, this is energy, this is vibrations, this is, and you have to feel that. You can't think that, you have to feel it. And so learning to feel and ground and get into your body so that you can understand the moment-to-moment communication that they've been giving you since you were born.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's always been a bit unnerving to me. I've wondered how many messages I miss.
Well,
I have a feeling I'm about to find out.
It's the whole FOMO thing, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, it's not about what you've missed, it's where you're going to, what are you striving for? We don't, judgment. We want to get out of that mode, right? I'm like, just let it go. You're like, okay, well, but I'm reaching for something more now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's an interesting piece, though, because one of the things we've talked about lately, there are obviously lots of different ways that you can work on yourself. There are programs out there. There are coaches and teachers. There are therapists. There are classes you can take. There are group classes. There are all kinds of stuff. And right now, we've been spending a lot of time on one particular one called TIA Bootcamp. TIA is an acronym that stands for Trust Your Abundance. And it's part of a program offered by a gentleman who channels Source by the name of David Strickle. And one of the key concepts that comes through that is the idea that when you're developing this stuff, you need to go into what they call your top transgressors, so things that tend to become your blocks and your resistance points, and then kind of work through those. In order to find out what those are, you actually get a private session with him while he's channeling the stream, and the stream kind of walks you through your particular set of transgressors. I went through that, and one of the things that came through for me was, well, my big goal in going through his entire boot camp was to increase my ability to have that connection and to appreciate it and to experience it. And to, I mean, literally, the way I think of it is, I want to be able to have a conversation with my inner being. Verbal type communication. That's really where I want to go with it. And so in the midst of my introductory session, the stream said to me, well, you do realize you keep looking for the evidence of it, but you never asked for it. And I sat there and I thought to myself, oh my God, I don't think I ever did. I never asked for it. And so I've actually been practicing during the first few weeks of boot camp here to start making that ask. So I bring that up as a long-winded preface to ask the question, is this common? Do people just simply forget to ask?
All the time. That's
all the time. Okay, well, I'm not out of the norm. That's good.
No, it's not. It's, I'm constantly in my sessions like, well, go to your source. Treat your source as if source is your best friend in the non-physical realm. Like you would talk to your best friend, you would ask your best friend, ask source, right? Just ask and ask and ask. And that's how you develop that communication with your source. Yeah.
Well, and more specifically, what they were saying is, imagine that you're actually getting the answer.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've asked for years. I just didn't hear anything.
Yeah. Well, because then you got to change, because usually what people do is they're noticing that they don't see it. And so that's just one way to change that story, to open it up. I tend to, like, say I'm confused on the message that source is giving me. I'll just say, oh, I'm so happy I got that answer and I understood it and it was so clear. Oh, I'm just so happy. Thank you. And I just let it go. Right. And I just know it's going to come to me clearly, and I understand it and all that. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Walt. What kind of evidence are you looking for?
I think I want to hear that voice either behind me or in my chest or from the next room or something that basically says, hi, I'm here.
So a couple weeks ago when you were talking about your employees were having a tiff and you were having to go in and kind of mediate the whole thing, and then you, in the car on the way there, you were like, okay, this is going to go better than expected kind of attitude, like everything's going to work out great. And then when you got there was a little bit of a rift, but everything worked out perfectly in the end. To me, that's your source.
Okay, I agree with you. Again, the goal that I've set for myself is I want to have the actual conversation, like you and I and Shawngela are talking right now. That's the way I want to. Shawngela. I keep screwing that up. All right. I'm going to create a new way of thinking about your name. So in my mind, the G becomes a J. That way I think of it as a J sound. So it's Shawngela. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that'll last about 5 minutes. So,
yeah, well, you do.
I apologize, Shawngela. I really, seriously, no. I like to get names right, and I'm sorry I keep getting yours wrong. I'll fix it, I promise.
It's all good. It's all good. So we don't necessarily like to use the word channel. However, the start of my quote unquote channeling, connecting to my source, allowing source to speak to me, was to ask for it. I asked for them to speak through me so that the message that comes through is, from source. And so that started my journey, just that asking for it and then allowing it, of course, to happen. Yeah. And it took time. It took time to get comfortable with the process. And their first way of speaking through me after I did that was not actually through words, through my mouth. It was actually, they were writing with my hand. So they wrote, Shawngela, we love you, and with my hand. And it was quite fascinating because I just looked at my hand as it was moving. And I'm like, oh, they're writing. So
that didn't spook you out when that happened?
Well, I knew if I were to think about it too much, the connection would be lost. And so I just trying, and I've been meditating, for years before this. So I had a sense of cutting off that ego and letting things go. And so I'm like, but that didn't last very long though. It only lasted for like 2 minutes. And then I was like, oh my God, what's that?
What just happened? Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the connection got lost. But then over time, I just again learned to just let my mind just really go blank, and then just allow it to happen. And that's how they can get through. Like one of my favorite quotes from Conversations with God, book 1 is, God can't tell you God's truth until you stop telling God yours, right? They cannot speak through you if you're always thinking that you know the answer, right? They cannot communicate with you if you already think they communicated through you, right? So you just have to let it go. You have to just allow it to happen. Yeah.
I think that different tools are important with that too. Like you were talking about, like writing with your finger, but like automatic writing. I read tarot cards, and I really feel like I'm getting stuff through that, because I'll use the cards. I know the basic, premise for each card, and then I just run with it. Whatever comes to me, I'm just spitting it out.
Yeah.
And so
that's the way that you've developed your communication, which is what, everyone has their own unique language, their own unique way of communicating with their source. And whatever you develop is whatever you develop, right? That's why there's so many different modalities, because everyone's developing these different ways in which they communicate. There's no right or wrong. It's just, this is just what works for you. And so that's what we do. We guide people to go to their source and learn that communication, that develop that communication, whatever that communication is for you. So, yeah.
Right.
And that actually sounds like it's a fairly common approach, the automatic writing or the guided handwriting. That sounds like something that happens a lot just from people I've talked to. Do you get that sense, or is that just me?
The automatic writing, I've never heard of this. I didn't even know what that was. I was just like, what is that? And it only happened once, and that was it. It's not even happened before. No, that was the only time. After that, they started communicating through me through my voice. But in the beginning, it was only, I had to be very excited, like, almost like I was yelling at someone, because I had to, raise my vibration. And then over time, it got to the point where I naturally raised my vibration to the point where it could just naturally come through me. Yeah.
What does that feel like when you have your voice being used by some other entity or group of entities?
Well, generally now what happens is that it comes through with my voice. They don't, you can tell if you know me or if you listen when they say we, it's them. Right? They say we and whatever. It's been a while. I think it's been like over a year since there is this one particular one that speaks through me that changes my voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the other ones, it just comes through as my voice. So
do you have like different names for each of them? I mean, do you know who they are individually, or is it just?
I haven't asked.
I give them. Okay.
I give them a name. I am.
Oh, right.
So as a collective, I am. Because it's really about me trusting in the process, right? I've invited those of the highest vibration of love who have my best intentions in mind, and so I'm communicating to them and trusting in that process without asking too many questions in the beginning, because I need to get comfortable with you. I need to figure, I need to just trust, because when we get in our mind too much, we just allow the information to come through.
How do you know when you're in your mind?
when they can't speak through you.
Oh, okay. Fairly straightforward.
I think you're in your mind when you're putting limitations and the how-tos, like what you're talking about with your finger. If you've read about Abraham, when Esther first started channeling, it was with her nose. She was spelling things out. She's like, what's happening? And then she's like, oh my God, I'm spelling things with my nose, which was just totally weird. But she just was like, okay, start taking this down. And eventually she started talking it. But like just being open and trusting to all that, and not, I always call it like putting blinders on a horse, you know, where they can just see one direction. You have to take those off and just be open to all of it.
Exactly, because you limit what the possibilities when you start, like, you know, analyzing. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Or, you know, just let it go. Trust in it, and then allow it to unfold. Yeah.
I'm reminded of one of my other co-hosts. His name is Neo Positivity. Really great guy. And the way Neo is his real name. It's his given first name. The positivity, obviously, he kind of tacked on. But he tells an interesting story about how he receives messages. He says it's like God is standing behind him, and he hears a voice coming from behind him. I always thought that was a really interesting way to do it, to receive it. Partly because, to me, that's a lot more conversational. When the voice is coming through your own voice, I mean, I don't know. It just strikes me it's kind of harder to have a conversation that way.
Well, it's harder for me to have a conversation with myself, but as I'm speaking to my clients, it works that way. For me, the way I communicate with my source is more through, you can say, telepathic means, whatever. Is I just ask the question in my mind, and then I usually, actually people call it claircognizance.
Right.
And I just get the information. It just comes to me. Like I already,
just like thoughts.
It's not even a thought. It's just, you just know.
Yeah, because when I'm reading tarot cards and things come to me, I don't quite understand. It's not really a voice, but it's just like,
it's like, you know, you just know.
Yeah.
You just like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, that's the answer to that. Thank you. And that's it. Yeah.
So when Esther describes the way it comes to her, she describes it as receiving this block of thought that she's translating into English. Is that close to what you're talking about?
Not what she's talking about, how it comes to her to verbally communicate with people.
True, yes.
Yeah, what we're talking about is how it comes through with just this knowing
internally.
Yeah. When they're speaking through me, I don't know. It just comes out. I don't, there's no thinking to it. I don't see it as, I know there are times when I have to, I can actually feel myself just separating myself from the conversation and just like being an observer of it just coming through, so that I don't get my stuff into it and just let it come out. But as you practice it more and more, it just becomes like natural. You know, they've been in this conversation, and I don't know if you've heard them.
Okay, give me a clue.
When they said we, there was earlier.
Oh, okay. I remember that. Yes.
When they said we don't necessarily like channeling. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that the source actually has preferences. I like that. I mean, most of the time it's like the source is giving me these messages. Okay, great, you know, but nice to know there's actually like a little, I don't know, personality to source. That's a good thing to have.
Well, we wouldn't call it a personality. We call it, well, we would say like what you say with Esther Hicks is how it comes through. It's going to come through that person's personality. And so they're going to inject that. How we communicate is we don't communicate that way.
So you're almost like, I know David describes it as he's like the filter. Esther is a filter, and the nature of who that person is becomes the filter for how it gets expressed.
Exactly,
it's like perception,
and the language that is spoken, and how we speak through Shawngela is different than how we speak through Esther and how we speak through others, because their vernacular is different, and so we have many teachers to teach it in different ways so that people can understand that which we speak of.
And as David points out, you really can't expect to get an answer through David about a subject that David knows nothing about, because then he doesn't have any context to give words in.
Exactly. Yeah. There have been times when I'm channeling and they're trying to communicate a word and then they just stop. They're like, Shawngela just does not know that word that we're trying to give. But then it's like, well, the closest we can come to is this. And I'm
right.
So yeah, I'm always being encouraged to increase my vocabulary.
Does it work?
Does it work to increase my vocabulary?
No, I mean, does it work for them to encourage you to increase? I mean, do you actually do it because they're asking you to do it? Is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, well, I love words too. Yeah, I'm always I get a word a day from, I think, what dictionary is that? Why can't I think of the dictionary name? But anyway, they have a word a day thing, and I'm always looking like, oh, okay.
That's good.
I will increase my vocabulary.
Yeah. Increasing your knowledge base, that's going to make it easier for them to communicate too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. What's been the favorite part of the whole experience for you, though? I mean, obviously this has been it's become a major part of your life. I mean, you make it part of your podcast, you write about it, you coach people through it and so forth. But what's the biggest breakthrough or the biggest takeaway that has happened for you just by going through this whole experience?
The biggest breakthrough has been, I guess, in my own personal health and healing myself. That's been the biggest, the most profound experience for me, and letting go of the illusions of the regular world, the traditional mindset about healing, and healing from, a spiritual perspective, and understanding how I'm creating this reality, how I'm creating my disharmony in my body, and learning to, rectify that, but not because I got to eat this, because I got to do this, because no. It's about how I'm in alignment with my source. What are my thoughts? That's about alignment with source. All of that, it's letting go of that old paradigm of thinking and moving to the next paradigm. That's been the most profound for me.
So we love stories here on LOA today. So I'm going to kind of push the envelope a little bit and see, can you tell us any stories about exactly what you just talked about, an example of how you achieved some learning, or you had this healing breakthrough, you had some health improvement, I don't know, just a story that fits what you just described.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay, I'll describe this. Like, okay, so I been doing this for a while, but you're always deepening your awareness all the time, right? Because you never get there to the top, right? You're always striving to get there. Mm-hmm. In any case, so I started to get a cold, right? Like a virus. Mm-hmm. And you know how we have these downloads in our mind. We tell ourselves this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, because it's always happened that way, right? Mm-hmm. And they instantly were like, change your thoughts. Don't even change it right away. And I was like, oh, no. Oh, I'm healthy. I feel better. I feel da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, it was gone. I didn't even have it was like, there was no infection. I didn't go down that road. I didn't tell that story to make myself sick, right? I changed the story. My body was like, oh, no, I'm healthy, right? I'm done with it. So when I get sick, I normally heal like really fast. Let's say in the past, like if we had a flu virus and it lasted most people a week or two, I'd be done with it in like a day. That was,
So you catch it early.
No, but this was back then. This was back before I was even on this journey.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so now it's like I caught it in less than an hour. I'm good.
Really early.
Yeah, it was really, I was like, oh, I'm good. I got to change the story about what's happening and not go down that route. And because I've been practicing this vibration, is quick, right? It's quicker. And then the more I do it, the more I'm recognizing like all these signs. I'm like, oh my God, that's just a story I've been telling. I got to change that story. That's not real. That's not true. We don't have to die at 70, 80. That's not the limit of our physical body. That's just the story we've been telling, right? Because we don't know how we're creating our reality. So if you don't know, then you just keep reinforcing, my knee is aching because I'm older. That's the story you're telling. It's not true. It doesn't have to be true. But if you keep reiterating it, it becomes true to you. And you may not think, oh, I don't think that. But if you don't raise your level of consciousness beyond the collective thoughts about health, then you, in effect, become the collective consciousness thought about health, right? That your health just deteriorates from birth, basically. It just gets worse and worse.
I've been doing that a lot through
Mm-hmm.
all of this. I haven't been sick in almost a year and a half, because every time I just feel that little twinge or wake up with a little scratch in my throat, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm going to feel good today. And it has just been working like a charm. I love it.
It changes the story. It changes the story. Exactly. That's the law of attraction manifests gloriously.
Yes.
Well, it's also it's the way a lot of it gets taught by a lot of teachers. Catch it early. You know, it's like, you know, you're trying to stop the boulder that's rolling downhill. You don't want to do it at the bottom hill. You want to do it at the top of the hill before it's gained any momentum. You're catching it really early before there's any momentum at all.
Exactly.
Which is huge. That's you know, that's the skill, really.
Well, and then you don't go into your day and talk about, oh, I woke up with a sore throat. My head was stuffed up. I sure hope I feel better. I took a bunch of vitamins. Like, if you do that, you're just perpetuating the sickness instead of perpetuating. You just talk about how good you feel. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Like, there's no need to explain it. You just
But that's getting out of that habit, because we're used to doing that story. And then, if you're watching TV, if you're into that, and all the, pharmaceutical commercials, and so you're just so.
That's what mute buttons are developed for, by the way. It's a great way to stop that on television. Just mute the darn thing.
Yeah, you may mute it, but you still see it. You're still.
Not me. I go out the other room. I mean, I don't even like watching TV that much anyway.
I just say, why would you take an antidepressant that's going to make you suicidal? And every single one of them say that. It's like, what is happening? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It just,
But it's just a different level of consciousness. It's just, if you don't know any better, if you haven't asked, if you haven't allowed, if you haven't, been in touch with your intuition, you think that's all there is, right? You follow that mainstream. It's not until generally something really traumatic happens in someone's life that they start awakening to something different. COVID has done that for many people. They've awakened because of that, because they're like, wow, this can't be all that there is, right? There has to be more. And that starts to asking. When you ask, you're opening the door to allow a different reality, a different message to come to you, that this way of pharmaceutical treatment, this way of treating symptoms, this way of that we've, made our bodies like they're machines, and we just oil it if it's not working, or we we tear it out if it's not, we cut it out if it's broken, and all this stuff, like there is decompartmentalized, right? This old paradigm is not working because it's not the reality of who we are, right?
And it's getting challenged. There are a lot of challenges coming to it, not necessarily through official channels, but nevertheless, more and more people are doubting, questioning. They may not be into what you and I and Shelley would call spiritual type thinking or spiritual circles, but the challenging is going on anyway in a variety of different forms. I take a lot of heart from that. I think it's really cool that that's happening. Yeah,
it's the awakening consciousness. We're shifting as a planet into a new level of spiritual consciousness. And you can see that by the number of people who are awakening and other people who are asking and needing help. Like, well, what do I do now? I know there's something more than the physical body. What do I do now?
I think a lot of it too is being able to let go of the fear around health, because just as easily as you can say, oh, I woke up with a sore throat, I'm going to be super healthy, it's going to be fine, I'm going to feel better, and get back into that, bouncing back into the positivity and the, source energy. You can also do that. And I always look at that like, wow, like the next day, like I did that, like I created that health for me. I'm healthy today. I think that you can also look, and, I talked about this, the last guest that we had, I was talking about like the whole cancer thing, like looking at cancer as almost more of an adventure. Like, how can I heal this and make this better instead of, and not having the fear? Because if you are a very spiritual person, you really let go of the fear of death. So it's like, what can I do to make this an experience that I can have that'll make everything better? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I agree. It is about a change in mindset. It is about first recognizing, one of the parts of awakening is recognizing that you are the creator of that dis-ease and that disharmony in your body. It wasn't done to you, you created it. And that's kind of challenging for people to get.
No kidding.
It's not like we're saying to blame you.
No.
We're saying that to awaken you and to empower you. It's just like, well, if I created that, I can uncreate that, right?
Right.
I can now, I know how I did it, and well, let's consciously manifest a different reality. That's consciously manifest, health and healing, happiness, and all of that. And the fear is natural. It's natural for most people, even those who you might say are in your spiritual circle, because you're facing death, and not everyone's come to terms with deaths, and that's okay. That's where going to your source is important, right? That's where coming home for that healing, for that sense of peace, and that working with, it's going to be okay, that you can heal, changing the story. How do I do it? And for many people, it's going to be different for everyone, but the ultimate is, you have to surrender, you have to allow, you have to change the story about your reality. If you're going to listen to the doctor who says you're going to die in 3 months, and that's the story you're going to tell, well, guess what? You will be dying in 3 months, right? But when you say, nope, that's not my reality, that's not, I don't accept your reality, because no one could create that reality for you, only you can. I don't accept it, I accept something different, and then that's a reality you create for yourself. Yeah.
That surrender and allow, that's really, I think, the biggest challenge most people deal with. How do you do the surrender? How do you do the allow? And I think it becomes a challenge just because it's the one that so many people, I know this is true for me, I'm sure it's true for many people, it's the one that we stumble over, because I remember the first way I asked myself, where's the off button? I would look at my own chest and say, okay, there's an off button here for all this negative crap I'm thinking about. Where's the off button? Of course, it's not in my chest, but that's what I would do. I'd look for, how do I turn the thing off? And I think that's where we get trapped a lot of the time, just on that particular question.
It's just a story. Everything you're saying is the story. Your life is, think of life as a book. And then what story do you want to read? What story do you want to read? Let's change the script of that story, right? If you're struggling with allowing, change the story. Every day it gets easier to allow.
It's just breaking up.
Yeah, we're getting some strange connection from you, unfortunately. I imagine she may be on a Wi-Fi signal, and the Wi-Fi just isn't doing really well right now. But yeah, it's trying to catch up to. I can just see how this thing. You get used to this one after a while.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like everybody's froze up now. Well, it looks like Walt and Shawngela are frozen. Oh, now it's just me. Let me look on Facebook and see if Walt is responding. Well, folks, it looks like it's just me right now. I'm going to go over to Alloway today and see if he's messaging over there, because it looks like I'm the only one on the show right now. Might get some feedback here. Gonna mute myself. See if there's any messages. Oh. There we go. Okay, I have no idea how to get Walt back because he's in control of this. Are you guys just seeing me on Facebook? I'm wondering if I should get out and try to come back in.
Well, that was interesting.
Oh, you're back. I've just been trying to figure out how to, if I should just get out. I was all by myself, I thought.
Well, you were all by yourself because we got hit by a lightning storm here, and I got knocked offline.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what happened to Walt?
And we just lost Shawngela.
She just left again.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
No, you're there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you are.
I was just moving my chair because I'm outside in the sun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we have some serious energy stuff going on today.
Wow. Yeah. Look, signs from the universe. Woo!
Yeah, there you go, Walt. You've been looking for
oh, my goodness. This is an example of ask and get out of the way. I mean, holy cow. Yeah, that was interesting. I don't even remember what we were talking about. That just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, I actually I don't. Oh, I know it was about health. It was about health, definitely.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and changing.
It was about allowing and letting go of the fear and being open to all the.
Yeah, that's
good source.
And that's where going to your source helps, because really when you're trying to make it happen logically in your mind, it's challenging. That's when you surrender to source. You surrender to something that's higher than you and allow them to make you feel peaceful. Allow them to, help you surrender, right? You don't have to do it yourself. You have your tribe in the non-physical that's there to help you. Yeah, it's surrendering. Get out of your ego. The ego that says, "Oh, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to make it happen." No, surrender to it. Don't push through it. Surrender to it. Yeah.
Well, I just surrendered to the internet god, so that gives me some practice. I said, I give up. Okay, make the thing work. Reboot the modem. Let's start all over again.
Awesome.
Well, I wasn't sure if I was if you were gonna be able to come back into that stream or whatever. I was just like, okay, I'm messaging Walt, letting him know he's gone too, and I'm here by myself. Like, can anybody else see Walt or Shawngela? Like, am I just?
Is there anybody out there?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, it is an amazing thing, though, how often we do have energy stuff happen here on the show in unexpected ways. It used to happen a lot with the Friday shows. For whatever reason, with the co-host that I had at that particular time, it was like every other week there was some sort of a surge, or there was like a ghost in the background of the image, or there was some voices coming through, or it's like, holy cow, what's going on here? So apparently sources have been trying to get through a number of different ways here.
Yeah. Well, they will. You keep asking, they're going to answer. They're going to answer you,
And they're persistent.
In different ways. Yeah, they will definitely, one thing that comes to me from what they're saying, open to other possibilities of how we communicate to you, right? You're expecting it one way, open to other possibilities and allow it to unfold for you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I think in part because if you're open to other possibilities, you're not attaching to one. An attachment, we know what that does.
Yeah,
it's negative attachment.
Yeah, they can totally communicate to you. You're like, no, that's not them because it didn't come this way. Yeah. So
that's been a source of concern for me for the longest time. How do I know the difference? I mean, you mentioned that you want to make sure that earlier on you said you always kind of pay attention to, is this my brain that's doing the communicating, or is this actually source that's communicating? And I was concerned, and I think to a certain extent I still am concerned. How do I know the difference? Is it easy for me to confuse myself on something like that?
It can be for you to confuse yourself, but be the spiritual athlete. It really is about learning to trust in it, right? So like in the beginning, your ego wants to be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. This is not da 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 da. And you was like, you know what? I'm letting it go. I know that which is communicating through me is of the highest vibration of love. I know this is from source. I trust in this process, and just go with it. You have to go with it. Yeah. Right. Just reiterating that you're trusting, because you're doubting yourself, especially like say for me, I used to watch horror films when I was younger. And so, I'm like, oh, it's just, a ghost or something like that. Nope. If that thought is coming to my mind, I'm telling a different story about it. I'm like, nope, this is from the highest vibration of love. I know this is from my source. I understand it, blah, 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 blah. And I just let it come out. Does that make sense? Right. Because doubt brings in that which is not of the highest vibration of love.
Well, that definitely makes a lot of sense, because we know that doubt basically kills everything. So
yeah,
it gets in the way of anything we're trying to do.
Exactly. Because the non-physical is like the physical. There are quote unquote non-physical beings who don't have the best interests of mind of people, right? And those aren't the ones you're calling forth. You're calling forth those, like people consider the angels, the gods, the archangels, all of these. That's who you're calling forth.
The
highest vibration of love, that which has your best interest in mind. Yes, that's what you continuously reiterate, and that's what you continuously call forth, right? And you let the doubts go, and if they come, change the story about them.
That reminds me, and it kind of makes me think, just from what you described there, that this may be part of your practice. A lot of people who I've talked to who are able to successfully make these connections and get information and have conversations and all that kind of thing often start off by saying something, or maybe it's a mantra that they do, or a series of phrases that they've become accustomed to saying that are all about bring me to my highest vibe, bring me only my highest good, all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I get the sense you do that too. Am I reading that right?
Actually, I don't.
You don't? Oh, okay.
I don't have a set thing that I say. I just in the beginning to make sure, but now that I'm more comfortable with it and I understand it more, I know, right? I'm like, okay, I know this is from source, blah, 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 blah. And I know when the quote unquote, the tricksters that are there that try to, knock on your door. You're like, oh, I'm not hearing you. I'm hearing that which is of the highest vibration, that which I've worked with before. Yeah.
I use the mantra, everything keeps working out better than expected.
Yeah.
Because it works for anything. It works for other people, your relationship with other people, with your work, with your love, with your body. It's like everything, because it leaves the door wide open. Like it's going to be better than expected. So there's no how to worry about. It's just going to be better than you expect it to be.
Yep.
And it does, eventually it just becomes habit where those things do come in, and then you're just like, oh, I'm not even going to give that any energy because I know what's really happening.
Exactly. Yeah. My mantra along those lines is good things are going to happen. So it just, it really is. And that was given to me by my source, because I had this innate before there was this like worry and this fear, like things are just going to just drop out and fall and just chaos was going to be created. Right. Because that's the reality I had created. So there was always the shoe was going to drop at some point, right? No matter how good it's going, the shoe is going to drop, right? And so you're just like, oh, what does that mean? Anyway, the shoe is going to drop. That's anyway, and that's that story. But yeah, so they were like, okay, you need this mantra so you can, tell a different story about it. And that's what working with your source is, that they start guiding you on the things that you didn't even realize was there. They giving me some real gems. I was like, oh my God, I was thinking that. I didn't know that was within me. Okay, I gotta add this to my story now, that this is what I'm saying every day, so that I'm changing my subconscious mind to think differently. And so that's the journey. That's when you're studying, as we teach it, the law of attraction is really not what you can get from the law of attraction. It's about who you can become from the law of attraction. It's about embracing that spiritual power so that you heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And so in that light, this is a journey. This is not some quick fix. I want to get this house. I want to get, whatever. And not that we're saying that's a bad thing, there are those. No, there are those who strive for that. But what we're saying is that you embrace your spiritual power. You learn to become, and then all that comes to you anyway. You get the house, you get the car, you get the money.
It's your vibration. Like I just got my dream car a year ago, and after years of like, I'm trying so hard, why isn't this working? When I just let go and allowed it happened in a week and a half. Yeah. It's just amazing when you just like have that faith and that trust. And it was even starting to happen where it didn't feel good with a different car. And I just stopped it in its tracks. I just said, nope, we're not going there. I don't want to see that car. That's not my car. And the next day my car showed up, and I had it in 3 days. And that's the fun stuff. Like like you say, oh, well, for some people that shouldn't matter. I feel like we're living in this material world, and it's fun. Every time I get in that car, I'm like, thank you. I'm running to the grocery store in my dream car. That's so awesome. Like, but if that car was gone tomorrow, it wouldn't devastate me. I'd be bummed, but I'd know there's more to come. There's, it's awesome when you start to change your vibration to a different thing.
It's very cool when you do it too. As you were talking about that, Shelley, something came to my mind. I want to ask actually both of you about this. I'll go to Shawngela first, obviously. Since
Shawngela.
I keep doing that. Shawngela.
Think of like Angela.
Angela, that's good. Angela, yeah, you're right. That would work. Okay.
Sean and Angela.
Shawngela. If I say that often enough, I may actually stick. Okay. So Shawngela, I'm going to say your name again, Shawngela. So the question I was aiming at was about appreciation. Because this is a theme that's been coming up a lot on the show lately. It's a theme that I think shows up in a lot of people's lives in a variety of ways. But lately the theme has been about appreciation for things that we don't like so much in our lives. Learning how to appreciate all of the creation, not just the part that we like. And I'm wondering to what extent, if any, that's been part of your learning, part of your experience, and part of what you teach.
Well, you can say learning to appreciate every aspect. You're right, every aspect of it. You're like, okay, I manifest this. Yeah, this is crazy. I didn't really like it, but you know what? I'm gonna laugh at it. I'm just gonna I don't know if I would say appreciate, more so than I just surrender to it. And I acknowledge that I did create it. Right.
Okay.
And sometimes I get to a point where I appreciate it, but most of the time I kind of just like laugh at it. Like, oh, wow, that was just crazy. But it's just another way. It's just another vibration to just surrender and let go and be like, okay, I created this. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to resist it, because that's all it is. Appreciation. You're not resisting it. You're acknowledging that you created it. You're blessing it and you're letting go. So however you do that, just do it, right? Whether it is, you say the words, I surrender to it, whether you say the words, I allow this to happen, I created this, I forgive myself. That's a big one, because people tend to not forgive themselves for the reality that they created that they didn't like, right? There's the resentment, the judgment, and all that. So however you need to get to the point where you surrender and just accept what you created, whether that's gratitude or forgiveness or loving it, whatever that is, do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
How about you, Shelley? What's your take on the whole question?
I feel like gratitude is a really good tool to bring you into a higher vibration. And as far as being grateful for the things that you don't like, I'm getting better and better at that, because I look at it as opportunity to bounce back, to be more positive, to learn a lesson. I just had a really good story for that, but now it's gone.
Yeah, we know how that goes. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like, you just get grateful for the challenges because they challenge you to be better.
It's an opportunity for spiritual growth. That's one of the things I say all the time. Well, it's an opportunity for spiritual growth. I can grow back past this, or I can stay stuck in it.
Like just for like a little tiny example, like we went to lunch this weekend, my husband and I, to this little cafe that we just love to go to. And with my sandwich, I ordered tater tots, because I love tater tots. and so I ordered them, and when she brought them to the table, there was French fries, and I'm like, God, I can't catch a break. Like the other day I wanted corn tortillas and I got flour tortillas. And so I was just like, and then I was just like, no, this isn't, I don't have to act like this is some tragic thing, And she came back around. She goes, everything okay? I said, could you bring me some tater tots? Because that's what I ordered. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So not only did I get tater tots, but I also got French fries. And I was just like, in that moment, like, this is pretty cool. Like now I have more food than and she took the tater tots off the, off the track without saying anything, without us saying. I wasn't going to ask for that, because I still got them. But I'm just saying, like, little things like that, like you could take that and talk about it for the rest of the day. Like, yeah, I can't even get my order right at the restaurant. And, everybody's so short staffed right now. It's so messed up. But you can just go into that and let that snowball into this just rotten day. Or you can say, wow, I got fries and tater tots. That waitress was super awesome. She took it off the tab. Like, it always way better than expected, And so you can just, you have to decide that. You have to turn that into habit, where, that knee-jerk reaction of like, dang it, where's my tater tots? Turns into this positive thing. Like, I got both, and that was even better. So
I get the sense that Shawngela actually has never really had a big problem with noticing which it is that she's doing. I mean, I get the feeling that she just zips right in on, okay, yeah, that's not the road I want to go down. I can just tell right now that's the one I'm shifting. Seriously, I don't get the sense that you've ever had any real problem with that.
It's being a spiritual athlete. You're just doing it every day to the point where it just becomes natural, right? You can just shift naturally into that state. I don't want people to get the idea that this, either you're innately born with this ability or you're not. You have to develop it. You have to, if you want to become more than who you are right now, you have to work at it, right? It's not going to just come to you. Okay. You have to learn you have to basically unlearn what you've been taught your entire life, and you have to learn a new story. You have to learn a new way of being in order to become whatever it is that you wish to become.
And in my case, it's starting to learn how to say Shawngela instead of Shawngela or some other name like that. You know, you start with the very, very beginning, and then one step after that. You know, just take one step at a time.
Exactly.
Hey, this has been great. Despite the fact that we had a little bit of a blank spot in the middle of there because the internet went goodbye. We're out of here. Despite that, it's been really, really good. But you got to tell people more about how to find you because we really haven't learned that part about it. So how do we find Shawngela?
You can find me on my website at seekwithinyou.com. That's SEEKWITHINYOU.com. You can find me there. You can also find me on social. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Pinterest, YouTube. I'm on, oh, good Lord, Twitter. And I just started Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can find me under there. All the other ones you can find me under Seek Within You, but on Instagram you can find me under Shawngela. So.
And your podcast, you're on the Law of Attraction Radio Network, so you have a podcast that goes under what name?
Embrace Your Spiritual Power. And actually, the podcast, I'm doing that solo now. So, and I'm relaunching that in probably August. I'm relaunching that, but the name will be the same. It's still Embrace Your Spiritual Powers, but you can still find the older episodes on YouTube. On YouTube, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right,
yeah.
Good.
Great.
Yeah, good. I think that's one of the more interesting things that we can do is podcasting, just because that's where we find out not just about the stuff we're trying to learn, but about the person who's behind them. And I think there's something powerful about knowing who that is and attaching to that person in a way that says, oh, wow, I just really like listening to her every day. She just makes me feel good. I think it's important. I think that's really that. Well, obviously that's where repeat listenership comes from, but it's also, I think it's like a stepping stone to growth. Just because, well, she can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. It's that kind of a feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much for giving us this time today. This is actually the second attempt to get her on. The first time I messed up entirely, so I'm just grateful she decided to come on at all. I mean, she could just blow me off and say, I'm not going to deal with that guy. Forget him. But Shawngela was much nicer than that, much more kind than that. Excited to come on the show, and really, seriously, I loved having you here. I know Shelley's loved having you here too.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you so much. Many blessings.
It's been great. We really and we'll try to have you back. Why don't you give us a shout when you're ready to launch your podcast and come back on here and tell us, hey, we've got the thing going. Here's how you can reach it and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's an excuse to have you come back,
There you go.
like you need an excuse. Well, sometimes I do. Just a reminder to everybody, make sure that you, if you've not done it so far, download the LOA Today app. That's a great way to get not only all the latest episodes, but also a whole bunch of goodies that are built into it. It's also a good way to send in questions and comments if you want to include them in the conversation here. And we love when people include themselves in the conversation. So take advantage of that. Download that app, send in those questions, and use all those goodies that are in there. Thank you very much, Shawngela. Thank you, Shelley, so much for your contributions as well. Thank you to anyone tuning into the live stream, including I saw Amy, one of my Monday co-hosts. She was tuned in, so it's good to see her too. But especially thank you to all of our podcast listeners everywhere, because without you, we would not have a podcast. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.